Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really unpack some fascinating sources today. Our mission, as always, is to dig into writings that challenge how we think. And today it's all about wealth, value, and, well, where we should really be putting our trust. We've got excerpts from Divine Riches, a daily reflection on lasting wealth, and also Vanity, Riches, and Eternal Life. That second one draws from Ecclesiastes, Psalms, Colossians, Matthew, Luke. Quite a lineup. And the big question we're tackling is, what are riches, really? And where should we, invest our efforts for value that actually lasts? So let's jump in. We'll start with a really striking story from Luke chapter 12. Picture this. Jesus is teaching, and someone from the crowd just calls out, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." Feels so real, doesn't it? That kind of family squabble over money still happens all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really interesting is how Jesus responds. He doesn't bite. He doesn't wade into the dispute. Instead, he says, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator." He sidesteps it. But then he turns it into this universal warning for everyone there. He says, "Take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions."
Wow.
That right there, that's a foundational statement. It just turns our usual assumptions upside down, doesn't it?
It really does. Life does not consist of possessions. Powerful stuff. And then, almost like he knows that warning needs illustrating, he tells this parable. It's about a rich man. His land produces this huge harvest, way more than he expected.
Right.
So much that his current barns aren't big enough. So he thinks, okay, I'll tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I'll store all my grain and goods.
He's got a plan.
Exactly. And his next thought is, and I'll say to myself, now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry. He figures he's made it. Set for life.
Financial security achieved, or so he thinks. But then comes the twist. It's abrupt. God speaks to him. "You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?" It is. It's a stark reminder of how fragile life is, how little control we ultimately have over that final moment.
Yeah.
And the conclusion Jesus draws from the story is for everyone. Thus will it be for all who store up treasure for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God.
Oh, it really forces you to question that whole modern idea of, financial independence being the ultimate goal. What's the real return if it can vanish overnight?
Yeah, that ending. It just lands so heavily. He thought he had everything sorted. So for you listening, what's the immediate gut reaction? What hits you first about that story?
Well, for me, it's that profound shift in perspective it demands. And when you link it to, say, Psalm 62.10 from the Divine Riches reflection.
That psalm says, "Though riches increase, do not set your heart on them." The reflection points out that the rich man's focus, his complete absorption in storing earthly stuff, it blinded him to the poverty of the soul.
Rich in grain, poor in soul.
Precisely. Rich in one sense, but deeply fatally poor in another, more lasting sense.
Okay, so the parable warns us about hoarding. But what about the striving itself? The whole pursuit? Because Ecclesiastes, which you mentioned is in the other source, it starts with that phrase, "Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity." That sets a pretty bleak tone about worldly effort.
It does. Bleak, or perhaps realistic. Ecclesiastes talks about this great misfortune, as it calls it. Imagine someone works their whole life using wisdom and knowledge and skill, building something up.
Right, pouring everything into it.
Exactly. Only to then have to leave it all behind for someone else who, well, didn't put in that same effort. And it notes that this kind of toil often just leads to sorrow and grief. Even your mind isn't at rest at night. That constant churn, and that, the text says, is also vanity. Futility, maybe. Emptiness. It makes you wonder about the ultimate payoff for all that stress and striving.
It really does. And then you layer on Psalm 90, also from that Vanity, Riches, and Eternal Life collection. It's incredibly stark about how short life is. It says, "You turn man back to dust, for 1,000 years in your sight are as yesterday, or as a watch of the night.
Yeah.
You make an end of them in their sleep. The next morning they are like the changing grass, which at dawn springs up anew, but by evening wilts and fades." Reading that, it paints such a vivid, almost unsettling picture of just how temporary we are. If life is that quick, what are we supposed to do with it?
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That's what these texts push us towards. If it's all so transient, so fleeting, how should that change our priorities, our values? Psalm 90 itself gives a clue, a prayer, really. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain wisdom of heart.
Number our days right.
Yeah, it's not just about counting them, is it? It's about understanding their value, their scarcity. making them count. It's a call to live consciously, to think carefully about where we invest our limited time and energy.
So, if accumulating stuff isn't the answer, if life is short, what should we be focusing on? Where do these sources point us for, like, real security?
They point us inward and upward, you could say. Colossians chapter 3, also in our source mix, is very direct. It says, if you were raised with Christ, seek what is above, where Christ is seated. Think of what is above, not of what is on earth.
Okay, seek what is above. What does that look like practically?
Well, it's about shifting your primary focus, moving it away from things that fluctuate wildly, your bank account, your job title, social approval, towards things that endure. Character, integrity, love, generosity, building an inner foundation that isn't, shaken by external storms. And Colossians gets even more specific. It talks about putting to death the parts of you that are earthly. Immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and the greed that is idolatry.
Greed as idolatry. That's strong language.
It is. It equates placing ultimate trust in wealth with worshiping a false god. The text speaks about taking off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self. This isn't just tweaking behavior, it's a fundamental transformation, moving away from self-centered, often destructive patterns towards becoming more aligned with goodness, with truth.
And then right after that part in Colossians, it says something really remarkable about inclusivity. Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcision and uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. How does that fit with redefining wealth?
It's crucial. It suggests that in this new self, this new way of being, the old categories we used to divide people, categories often linked to status, power, and yes, wealth, they just dissolve, they lose their meaning.
Ah, I see.
And this connects beautifully with that line from Matthew's Gospel, the Alleluia verse, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Being poor in spirit, it's not necessarily about having no money. It's about humility. It's recognizing you don't have all the answers, that you need something more than just material things. It's about being open, teachable.
And that aligns with being rich in what matters to God, like the parable said.
Exactly. The divine riches reflection puts it perfectly. God invites us to be rich in what matters: love, mercy, generosity, and faith. Those are the durable assets, the treasures no market crash or, frankly, even death can touch.
Which brings us to making this real, right? Taking it out of the realm of ideas. Because divine riches poses that very direct challenge. How can I use my resources today to bless someone in need and grow richer in God's eyes? It's not passive.
Not at all. It demands action. The source pushes further. Let us use what we have not to build bigger barns, but to build his kingdom. And building his kingdom, in this context, seems to mean contributing to a world that reflects those lasting values. Justice, compassion, love, rather than just padding our own comfort.
So using what we have generously.
Yes. Being generous with what I have and to store treasures in heaven. It's about reallocating, not just our mental energy, but our actual tangible resources, time, money, skills, towards things with eternal significance.
So pulling it all together from this deep dive, the message seems incredibly consistent across these different texts, ancient as they are. True security, real meaning, it's not found in how much we can gather for ourselves. It's about redefining wealth entirely. It's almost like a prayer from that reflection, wanting to free my heart from greed and help me live simply and faithfully, really seeking what truly lasts and honors you. It cuts right against the grain of so much modern culture.
It really does. And what strikes me is how relevant this ancient wisdom still feels. In a world obsessed with consumption, with constant growth, these texts provide a powerful lens to, critically examine our own lives, our own priorities. They tackle timeless human anxieties about the future, security, purpose, and offer a radically different path.
So maybe the provocative thought to leave you with today is this.
Consider that true security might not be about what you have stacked up in your barn, so to speak. Maybe it's found in what you give away and in who you become in the process. What's one small step, maybe even today, you could take to invest in those riches that won't be demanded of you tonight? Something to think about.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.